What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So for this horror news update, we have the House of the Dead. Paul W.S. Anderson updates on his very scary horror movie adaptation. Very scary. So that's the quote that they're giving us. So you're going to quote something like that, especially when it comes to horror, you better deliver, because I think, like myself, many fans within the genre are going to hold your feet to the fire, so to speak. If you try to deliver a film that you're quoting is going to be very scary and it turns out not to be scary at all. So I think when it comes to directors, actors, actresses putting out quotes like this about their work, more than likely they're probably being told to get out there, promote it, say what you got to say, or say these things. That's fine. But at some level, you all have a backbone. Don't be putting stuff out there like this unless it's going to deliver. I mean, we're very early on in this. This could turn out to be a very scary thing, but you're already setting the expectations and setting that bar high for yourself that this adaptation is going to be quote very scary. So you're going to need to deliver. All right, so let's get into these details here. We have a concept art picture here. Now, this is the concept art. I mean, not knowing what this scene would entail, but yeah, this could be a very scary situation, a very scary scene. So, again, as long as you follow the concept art, then I think you have something on your hands. All right, so we had learned this past Halloween season that Paul W.S. Anderson, which has a list of the various films, is returning to the horror genre with an upcoming movie adaptation of the video game, The House of the Dead, which will be coming along over 20 years after Uwe Boll's infamous adaptation. Paul W.S. Anderson will write and direct the new adaptation of Sega's zombie game, which debuted back in 1996 and spawned a franchise as well as a remake in 2022. In a new chat with Variety this week, Anderson details his, quote, very, very scary vision for the upcoming movie. Quote, it's going to be immersive and very, very scary, Paul W.S. Anderson promises. Quote, it'll all play out in real time, so it reflects the experience of playing the video game. The only time it stops is when you beat the game or you die. That's going to be the only way out. Anderson is, of course, no stranger to bringing video games to life on the big screen, having previously adapted both Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil. He tells Variety, I'm really going to push the envelope on this one. It's going to be something different for me. So, side note, depending upon what Mortal Kombat we're talking about, I mean, we know, if we're assuming talking about the original and the original Resident Evil, in my opinion, products of their time, Mortal Kombat was a little bit closer to the video game than the Resident Evil film was. I mean, they took aspects of Resident Evil, and that's my opinion. That's been the problem for me with Resident Evil, the franchise. I feel it's always taken parts from the games and built and tried to push them into a horror thriller action movie, and was never really a true adaptation of the video game. Now, for Mortal Kombat, it was a bit closer to the video game, especially when you have like the scene with Scorpion. Again, if we're talking about the original films, the scene with Scorpion, when you hear him yell to Johnny Cage, "Get over here!" Right? Just the way that sounded just like it was in the video game. But I mean, I get it. It doesn't make sense when you take something like Mortal Kombat, a fighting game, trying to bring it to a movie that's going to be telling a story and not just back and forth fighting constantly. I get that. So I'm hoping for the sake of this one, the adaptation is a bit closer to the source material. It's very rare we get video games that are turned into movies that either stay true to the source material or are even a shadow of the video game themselves. So let's hope this turns out okay. So Paul W.S. Anderson's The House of the Dead will be specifically adapting the 2002 game, The House of the Dead 3, with the filmmaker recently describing the film as a full-on terror ride. In The House of the Dead 3, set 20 years after the previous game, Lisa, Rogan, and Agent G are searching for Lisa's missing father when they uncover a new zombie infestation. The original video game was unleashed in 1996, the very same year the original Resident Evil came along. Both games are credited for kickstarting the zombie resurgence of the time, and the images of this article are early concept art for Anderson's movie. So, I mean, yeah, looking at this concept art, I mean, we have more. So just these three images here. I mean, looking at the concept art, I mean, if you can try to bring this to life, then yeah, I think this could be pretty, and keep it very dark, keep it very, maybe it might get an R-rated, and just keep it very graphic, not too gory, but gory enough for an R-rated horror film, obviously. But I mean, yeah, I think this could be something. Now, I've mentioned this before, and on other subgenres, I'm wondering now. It feels like we're starting to see another resurgence of the whole zombie subgenre, zombie content. I mean, we know The Walking Dead and all those things, those spin-offs have still been going on. Surprisingly, they're still going on. They're still somewhat popular enough to keep making seasons. But I feel like we're starting to see a resurgence of zombie movies, and that just could be me. But between zombie movies, body horror, I mean, there's another genre out there I feel like we're starting to see a little bit more of, which is morally on the sci-fi horror, maybe. I think an argument could be made, is it more sci-fi versus horror, but I think there is a middle ground there of sci-fi horror. I feel like those are three subgenres that we're starting to see a resurgence of. And like I've said with other subgenres, especially body horror, more recently, I think that I don't want to see a flood of nothing but zombie films or body horror. I think there needs to be a nice mix of these along with the other subgenres or other just classic horror films. Otherwise, it's just going to be, again, like anything else, feast or famine. We're just going to get a flood of zombie content. And at some point, it's like, okay, well, I've seen enough zombie content. I want to see something different. I want to see something else. And I feel that's where horror has been doing well. Late last year, going into this year, we've seen a lot of new ideas, a lot of new stories, new concepts. And I want them to keep that going instead of constantly leaning back on these classic subgenres or these classic type stories where, okay, well, let's just make a zombie film or let's just make a body horror film, right? So obviously this is going to be very early on in the process. We don't have dates, we don't have anything else. Again, the concept art looks great. If they can pull off this concept art for a real life adaptation of the game into a film, I mean, I'd be interested to see it. I just don't want to feel like some of those early video game adaptations where, for me, they just didn't hit. Yes, they made money, and I think they made money based off the time they were released, as far as when they were released, and the fact that the name that they were carrying. But you're always gonna have your hardcore Resident Evil fans that are gonna go see any movie regardless, and it's gonna make money. Just like with Alien, just like with Predator, I think they're always gonna, on some level, going to make money, whether or not they are mid-level films or not. So, all right, that's going to do it for this horror news update. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the House of the Dead. Going to be getting a horror movie adaptation, specifically the House of the Horror Dead 3 from the video game. Drop a comment in the comment section. Even if you haven't played the game, are you still interested in the film? And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we will see you at the next one. Peace.